Wine geeks love to talk about terroir, a sense of place. That's what makes wine unique, really special. But how much does that really matter in terms of what's in the glass? Terroir is a French term. Actually, a lot of winemaking terms that people use all around the world are French. And Jancis Robinson's Oxford's Companion to Wine, under the terroir section, they list the following factors: climate, measured by temperature, rainfall, sunlight, energy, or insolation, received per unit of land surface area, relief or topography, the elevation, slope, and aspect, geology and pedology, determining the soil's basic physical and chemical characteristics, and hydrology, which is soil-water relations. One thing that I think is left out of the discussion when it comes to terroir is culture or a specific producer or the person. Let's face it, wine doesn't make itself and put itself into the bottle. As much as we'd like to be romantic about the wine, historically, the production of wine was always shaped by the markets. A lot of people mistake different wine faults or other chemical processes in the fermentation process or things derived from the oak barrels or aging as terroir, when actually that's not the case. The argument against terroir is technology has improved so much in the vineyard and in the cellar that winemakers can control fine little factors in how a wine turns out, the style of wine, its flavor. Therefore, that covers up or masks the terroir. However, things like climate, soil, aspect, you think of things like clay that retain moisture and retain heat a little bit more, are good for varieties like Merlot, especially in Bordeaux. I've found that I've always preferred Grenache-based wines in the Rhone grown in sandy soils. If you include the human element, the culture, how that wine's made, the land in which the grapes are grown, determine what kind of varieties you're going to plant. A lot of winemakers that are very skilled can taste grapes close to the harvest, can determine what type of wine they want to make. The quality of grapes that are coming into the cellar determine the different types of techniques that winemakers use. The land does produce the grape material, which then the winemaker will take that grape, ferment it, give it its ultimate expression, and finally get the wine that's in your glass. By that definition, I guess all wines are actually terroir driven. Even bulk wines, stuff that you find in the supermarket, those are made with inexpensive grapes. The land, the climatic conditions, that's going to determine the type of wines that's going to be made with those grapes. The terroir determine the wine. In essence, wine is simple, it's enjoyable to drink, it's alcohol, it's fermented grape juice, but on the other hand, there are so many other factors that go into wine. Pinot Noir is often described as a terroir-driven variety, while you have other white grape varieties like Riesling, Chenin Blanc, varieties that show off more earthy mineral notes. And then to a lesser extent, an interesting grape, Furment from Hungary, that's responsible for Toka. It's quite a neutral grape variety, very sensitive to different places it's grown in Hungary. Okay, that being said, we're going to take a look at two different wines from the same grape variety, same region. One is grown in the Appalachian closer to the sea, the other is grown in Appalachian inland closer to the mountains with a little bit higher elevation. The grape I have here is Verdicchio from Marche in Italy, documented to being in Marche since at least the 16th century. It's also the same grape as Trebbiano di Soave. It's also grown in Lugana. It's known as one of Italy's finest white grape varieties. That's the critic opinion, that's my opinion too. This is the same producer, just two different appellations. You ready? I'm ready. Let's blind taste something. We're looking at the subtle differences in terroir. So I have the Gabriel Glas Standart Edition's beautiful universal glasses. I think they are going to work great with Verdicchio. I have a link in the description box if you want to check them out. Helps the channel if you purchase with that link. So thank you. As always, I Coravin these babies. Have to be real careful and taste through. It's black fly season. It's the summer when I'm shooting this, so I got to make sure black flies don't get into the wines. Let's start out with number one here. Verdicchio has this lemony acidity, almost a mandarin fruit type characteristics, has some lime type notes as well. It also has some almondy characteristics, number one. It is more kind of mineral driven, so to speak. More mandarin, lime, lemon, citrusy freight, but I definitely get the almond here. Verdicchio sometimes has a little bit of bitterness in the back end. Number one, this has incredible acidity. It's really juicy. Quite nice because these wines aren't that expensive actually. This is a very nice wine. Tingles the mouth a little bit. It has a pretty lengthy finish. Let's check out wine number two here. Wine one on here on the left smells more minerally. Wine two on the right smells more fruity, more citrusy. This kind of more white apricot, white peach type flavors. It has a touch of mineral, but the fruit really jumps out here. It feels just like more plump. The length on this is nice. Both of them have like a slightly spicy finish. It's stereotypical, but they say sometimes that wine's grown by the sea, it tastes more salty. That's why I think this one might be. There might be something to it. I think sometimes the salt from the seawater gets onto the grapes. When those are vinified, it can be more salty. You look at places like Baja California where irrigation is actually used with water that has a slight salinity to it, though, so the wines are quite salty. You have wines like Malvasia de Bossa in Sardinia. If you look at pictures during the harvest, they're coated with salt. They're exposed to the westerly winds that are coming off the Mediterranean under the grapes. Definitely a difference here. They're both lengthy, both long. This one here on the left, I like a little bit more because it has a little more salinity, has more acidity. I think the one on the right here is a little more plump, might be a little more fruity, might be easier to drink for most people. Let's take a look. I'm gonna say that this right here is the appellation closer to the sea. This one right here is the appellation up in the mountains. I'm really interested to see the reveal here. I am 90 points on the one on the left. I'm 89 here on the one on the right. Let's start out with this one. I think this was the appellation that's closer to the mountains. Let's take a look. This is, I got it right. This is the same producer, same vintage. This is the Garofoli 2021 Supera Verdicchio di Metallica, 19 bucks. Verdicchio di Metallica is a smaller appellation in market. This is grown in the mountains. Usually with mountain fruit, the soils are going to be poor because it's going to be steep. There's going to be a lot of erosion. That means the yields are usually a little bit smaller. The wines can be a little bit more concentrated. The fruitiness can show through. And I picked that up here, 19 bucks. I think this is very nice, especially if you want to get into Verdicchio. I gave this one 90. I was really impressed. I said by the sea, and look, it is. This is the Garofoli Macrina. This is the 40th anniversary of this wine. So 2021, Verdicchio de Castello di Jesi, the largest DOC in Marche, 16 bucks. 90 points. I thought that was excellent wine. Like I said, the one here on the right, the Supera, it's from Mountain Vineyard, so maybe it's a little bit more concentrated. Here's where the human element comes into the concept of terroir. I know that the Verdicchio de Castello di Jesi yield restrictions are a little bit more generous compared to the Verdicchio di Metallica, which the maximum yields are a little bit smaller, therefore you're going to have more concentrated grapes. So yeah, both of these at 13.5 alcohol. Okay, I love Verdicchio. So tell me, what do you think about the concept of terroir? Do you include the human element? I'd love to hear in the comments below. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon.